Welcome in, y'all. For years, the Thursday night football slate used to always be some of the worst games on the schedule, but that has definitely changed. I assume it might even be some deal with Amazon Prime that they're going to get better matchups, but they certainly have. We're going to break down every single one of those matchups and rank them in order of worst to best. So we'll go ahead and get started. We're going to talk about the worst Thursday night football matchup for this year, in my opinion, comes with Miami visiting Buffalo early in the season. That is an 8.5 point spread. The Bills are favored by 8.5 points, which is not by far, but that is the biggest spread of all the Thursday night games this year. And I think rightfully so. This is one of those that I think would have been a much better selection if it was Buffalo at Miami, because then you could convince me maybe there is a better chance at an upset. But I really don't see Miami going into Buffalo early in the season and winning that game. I think Buffalo rolls, and I think it's not that interesting of a Thursday night game. So we're going to move on to our next spot now, number 15 on the list. It's another AFC East matchup. It's a mid to late season Jets visiting the Patriots. Patriots favored by 5.5 points in that one. So this one kind of falters in the fact that neither team is very good. There's not really many others on the list. You know, back in the day when it was Jags and Titans and they were both bad, those days are kind of gone. This is like the worst combination of teams, and even then it's not that bad. The Jets aren't like a bottom feeder. They're like a little below average, and the Patriots, they're on their way up. You know, their schedule's easy. I think they could definitely have a winning record this year, so definitely not too bad. But it's one of those that neither team is necessarily like a star power team, like, or that fun to watch yet. Patriots are getting there. And on top of that, it could be a blowout. I think blowout might be a strong word, but Patriots favored by 5.5. That's a decent amount. Just not that interesting of a game compared to a lot of these other ones. These ones at the bottom aren't that great, but there's only about 5 or 6 like that. So the next one now, we're talking number 14. It's Vegas at Denver. This one struggles, similar to the New England Jets one. It struggles with the better team being at home. Same with Buffalo, which hurts because, you know, if you had Denver visiting Las Vegas, we might be talking, right? That could be a fun game. Spread's probably only 3. The Vegas crowd goes nuts. That could be a fun game. This one in Denver, I think the Broncos handle it fairly easily. It's only higher than the New England Jets one because the Broncos are just a bit better, a bit more fun to watch maybe. But yeah, those two are pretty neck and neck, those games. Next up is Philly at the Giants. Philly favored by 7. And in neutral site-wise, or if you flip it, this is probably worse than the other two, but I like this one because it's Philly at New York. You get those Thursday night short weeks when you're the home team. It's such a big advantage. This could be one of those you get a sneaky upset chance. I doubt it, but it's a much better chance in my opinion than any of the 3 I had before this. So that's why this one falls into that spot. Probably won't be the best game, but you never know. And then next up is Baltimore at Miami. I just... Even when healthy, I think Baltimore wins this game relatively easily. I mean, they're favored by 5.5 in this one, the preseason odds here. And the other thing is, I say it every time I talk about the Dolphins, I don't trust that they're going to be healthy in the first place. So if they're healthy, this one, you know, I think this is about the right spot. But if Tua's hurt or something, this one would probably drop down to last because they wouldn't stand a chance. Next up, Atlanta at Tampa Bay. Again, another one. I'm beating a dead horse here. I'm going to keep saying it. I think it'd be better if you flipped home and away here. Tampa Bay's at home. They're favored by 5.5. That's a pretty decent amount. That's a pretty decent amount to be favored by. That's like it's definitely a fairly big upset if Atlanta were to come in and win. And Atlanta fans, blah, 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 they love mentioning it. They swept Tampa Bay last year. I don't care. Tampa Bay is just a better team this year than Atlanta by a decent amount, in my opinion, and I think the spread shows that. They're favored by 5.5 for a reason. So I think Tampa Bay wins this one. I think it'd be better if this, you swap that week 1 matchup where Tampa Bay visits Atlanta with this one. I think we might be talking, but at this point it falls in 11th. Coming in at 10th, it's kind of an interesting one. It's neither of the teams are anywhere near the top, but they're not at the bottom either. Like, there's neither of these teams you're like, oh, they're for sure missing the playoffs. Seattle at Arizona. I feel like they're both kind of in a very similar boat. They're kind of right in the middle of the league, in the middle of the conference, and it feels like one of them is due to jump up. I think Arizona is more likely, but it does feel like one of them is due to jump up, and this could be one of those early season games that shows us who it is. Also, early season gets in some points on this because really next to no chance, or there's no chance that either of them are really out of it yet. So I like that early season matchup in the desert. And then we go to a late season one. I thought about swapping these two, but I'm leaving it as is for now. Rams at Seattle. Rams are only favored by 1.5. So if everything holds up, this should be a really good game. But personally, if you've watched any of my other videos regarding them, I am not very high on Seattle this year. I don't have faith in them still being deep into the playoff conversation this late in the season. I think this is week 16, 17, week 16, I think. And I don't believe in Seattle still being in it. That's why I do have it this low. But if they are, this can shoot way up the list because it'd be a great divisional late season game. Next up, this is a bit of a weird one. You could argue it should be lower. It's Chicago at Philadelphia. It's a 7-point spread. Philadelphia is favored by, and it's above a lot of ones similar to it. I like Chicago's upside this year. I think they could end up being a very fun team. They looked great. It's preseason, but their starters looked great in that game this past weekend. So I think this one could be fairly fun. I think it being on Black Friday helps its appeal. It's a fun day. You're decorating for Christmas, watching the game. I like it in that spot. So maybe there's some bonus points there for that. But that's where I have it on this list. And right above it, I have this one. It's Dallas at Detroit. Detroit's favored by 5.5. I don't expect Dallas to go in there and win, but you can't tell me right now that you don't look at this game. It just sounds fun. I think most of that has to do with it's Detroit at home in primetime. They've had some fun ones there. High scoring, and Detroit's been a very high scoring team. This one feels like one of those that it's just going to be stupidly high scoring, and Detroit wins by, a touchdown, 42-35 or something like that. It just sounds like a fun Thursday night game. I'm thinking back to Detroit Green Bay Thursday night last year. That was a blast, and I think this one could be as well. And then right above it is a divisional matchup fairly early in the season, Pittsburgh at Cincinnati. I really like this one. The Bengals are looking to bounce back from just missing the playoffs last year. And the Steelers, you have Aaron Rodgers at the helm now. How is he going to do? Is the team going to hold together? This is one of the first chances on primetime to really show us what he can do there and what his last ride. Does he actually have any gas left in the tank? And classic AFC North rivalry. I think that's just all around a very fun game at number 6. So coming in at number 5, we have Denver visiting the Chiefs. This is the Christmas night game, which also falls on a Thursday night. Also, I'm not including the Thanksgiving night or the opening game with Dallas and Philly because those are both Thursdays, but they're not the Thursday night on Prime. Which is what we're covering here. Denver at Kansas City. Last year, this one came down to a blocked field goal. Denver pretty much had the game won. Field goal gets blocked. They lose in Kansas City. Denver's improved. A lot of hype around the Broncos this year. A lot of negativity around the Chiefs. Can the Broncos go in there on Christmas and spoil the day at Arrowhead? So I think that's a super fun one. Great selection for Christmas. Could get some cold weather, maybe even some snow on that one. That'd be perfect. I think there's definitely a chance there. Coming in right above it at number 4, I like this one, especially early in the season. It's the Niners at the Rams. Niners should still be very healthy at this point. Although they got to enter the season healthy, they're already rumored stuff about them being dinged up already. But these are the two top dogs in the NFC West. It's going to be one of them to win the division, in my opinion. There's obviously a chance Arizona, Seattle sneaks up, but I think it's unlikely. This game could go a long way in deciding that division. And Rams are only favored by 1.5 in this one. So this is a great game. It's a super fun game. This is a game we never would have gotten in the past on Thursday Night Football. 5-10 years ago, we were stuck watching, like I said, Titans, Jags. So this is a great divisional game early in the season. And coming in at number 3, I'm thinking of it. I think you could drop back a spot or two here, but I think this is a super underrated game. I doubt it'll get too much talk preseason or anything, but the Vikings and the Chargers just sounds like a fun game. Great uniform matchup if you care about that. Very aesthetic there, and it's going to be in SoFi. Great place to have the game. But I think this is just going to be a fun one. The Vikings should still be good. People are underrating them a little bit. They had 14 wins last year with Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is not the reason they had 14 wins. So they replaced him with McCarthy, who has a higher upside, and they still have a really good roster. The roster maybe even got better, so they should be good. Chargers, a lot of hype around them. They improved the roster. Herbert's hoping to take another big step, and Harbaugh has that team rolling. He took a maybe even below average roster to the playoffs last year, and this year he has a pretty decent roster, so they should be good. This is a great Thursday night football game. Two very good teams in an interconference clash there. Coming in at number 2, this one screams upset potential to me. Houston won this game last year. It's Buffalo at Houston. Buffalo is favored by 3.5, which I think is fair, but this is just a fun one. I think Buffalo's the better team. But you got to go on the road on a Thursday night. And this one's going to be, I think, more important for Houston because Buffalo is going to win the division super easily. Their schedule is pretty easy. The other teams in the division aren't very good. Houston could have a little trouble. A lot harder schedule than Buffalo does, at least. Not that bad of a schedule. And they're not as far ahead of their divisional foe. So I think this is a really fun game, a super important spot for Houston. And this is a game on my picks. I do have Houston winning. So I think that's going to be a super fun one. And then coming in at first, it's the only one left we haven't talked about. It's the very first game of the Thursday night slate. And if you've noticed with Prime over the last few years, their first Thursday night game tends to be a great one. I guess just to get people excited about it on that first week, then you come back and watch all the others. I don't know exactly what the thought process is. Makes sense to me, though. And this is a great one. They kick it off with a bang. You have 2 NFC playoff teams from last year, 2 NFC teams that should be in the playoffs again this year. Green Bay may be on the edge. Washington may be kind of on the edge. Who knows? But 2 fairly evenly matched teams. It's a Lambeau Field, week 2, kicking the season off, the Thursday night slate off right. It's a great selection. I think it's the best game. But I think you could argue a lot of other ones. I think you could argue anything in the top 5 to be in this number 1 spot. But this is just what I think is going to be the best game. So looking forward to it. Thursday night slate looks great this year. There's a couple duds down at the bottom, but you never know. Sometimes teams surprise, so we will see. And speaking of Thursdays, the season does kick off on a Thursday just a couple weeks from now. We're getting super close, super excited.